It's time now for the Matt and Todd Show with Big Matt and Diamond Dean.
Hello, good evening, Cherokee County. This is Big Matt. Diamond Dean is out on location, not here with us today. We're going to miss him here in the studio with me, but we're going to make it work, and we're going to see what we got going on tonight. Looks like we're going to be going over the East and West High School All-Star Game. Where are these kids going to play at? You know, is your favorite team getting some of these big-time players? And I give them all some grades. We'll see what they are. We're going to talk about the NFL playoff picture. We watched the Titans and the Niners win last night. So how's the Chiefs and Texans, and how's the Packers versus Seahawks going to play out? I'm going to give you my thoughts on that and some scores. And, of course, the big game that's coming up tomorrow night, Clemson LSU. We're going to break down some of the players and some of the keys that each team will need to win that game. First off, thank you for tuning in to WDKR. It's Big Matt here. Hello, Cherokee County and people across the world tuning in. We really appreciate everybody taking time out of their schedule to listen in here. Listen to just a good old boy talk about some playoff football here and a little bit of the high school East and West game. So let's start out here with the 2020 All-American Bowl. It's played in San Antonio, Texas. The West won this game 33-20. And, of course, everybody that's keeping up with the game knows that Bryce Young and DJ Uiagalelei, big quarterbacks, they're going to Clemson, and Bryce, of course, is going to Alabama. He's already on campus now. These guys are some great passers. First off, I'd say Uiagalelei has over-the-top kind of emotion. Kind of reminds me of a Peyton Manning, I guess, the way he has the delivery of the ball. Bryce Young is a smaller guy. He has a lot of zip on the ball. He's fast on his feet. He's definitely going to be trouble for a lot of people to try to tackle this guy. So, first of all, they're going to have good grades. We looked into Xavier Henderson. We'll start out from the bottom sort and work our way to the top. Florida's getting this player, Xavier Henderson. He's going to play with the Gators. We'll give him a C+. He made some big plays. He played with DJ on the East team. He's a good catcher of the ball, gets his hands out in front of himself. His routes are fairly okay, but he is very young. So we're just grading him here just to have something to talk about. I'm sure the Gators and Coach Mullen are excited to have him come be on campus. Also a linebacker, Desmond Tisdale. This cat is headed down to the Plains to Auburn. They had to play a 4-3 defense because of the rules, and the offense placed the 4 wide receivers, so he had to cover some of those receivers and stuff. It wasn't really fair for him to have to cover some of those high school receivers, him being a linebacker. But like I said, the way the offense is played, and that's just how they line it up in those games. They try to take care of the players. They don't want nobody to get hurt. They want everybody to have fun. He's a linebacker. Big-time player. He graded a C, but I'd probably give the guy a B. I think he did okay, you know, considering for what he had to handle with offenses that he had to cover out there. Exciting player headed down to Auburn, Desmond Tisdale. Talking about Quan Robinson, he's another linebacker. He's headed to Bama. He got turned around a few times, I noticed, on some big plays, give up a few big catches. He played as a wide receiver, but he did block an extra point. The kid's very fast. He's got fast feet. He's strong, and I think he's mentally capable of coming in and maybe making a difference next year down in Tuscaloosa. And, of course, I done mention Bryce Young. His first play right off the bat, man, he goes for 6 right off the bat with a 65-yard pass. He didn't run a whole lot. I don't think he really needed to, and it's kind of the way I said earlier, the way that's kind of set up, that All-Star game and how it's played. So we didn't get to see a lot of that, but he definitely gets an A on his grade. Dwight McLaughlin He's a corner. He's headed to LSU. He jumped a bubble screen out there. That's what stood out to me. He pays attention to the ball. He's definitely football smart. He's from down that way. Definitely going to be a big addition to LSU and their team. He had a pick six. He was the one that did a little generic style D-Hunt shuffle as he headed into the end zone. We'll talk about a player headed down to Bama. He had back-to-back sacks. He even had a forced fumble, and he killed a play on a 4th and 2 that I remember noticing. He's the one that blocked the. He got some blocks in the backfield. His name's Will Anderson, defensive end, headed to Bama. He's a big-time player. I'm excited to see him play Tuscaloosa. He may be able to play next year. He's very big, very physical. I think he's going to be a good pass rusher. He's definitely a good run stopper. Will Anderson, defensive end, headed to Bama. There was a Kaylee Ringo, headed to Georgia, a big-time 5-star player. I noticed him. North Carolina didn't add any from the bowl there, but they had a big star wide receiver named Josh Downs and a safety, Jaquarius Conley. Matt Brown's obviously doing a good job. Me and Todd had talked about on the last show how well he's doing there recruiting, and I'm glad for Coach Brown. He's doing a good job there. Moving on there, seems like Oklahoma, they'd really lost out Saturday. I was kind of surprised personally. They did get one commit, a tight end, a Jalen Conyers. Didn't have a real big mention about him very much. Texas didn't have a very bad day. They lost to SMU in recruiting out there of a quarterback, Preston Stone. They're still 9th and 10th, and he's the 10th in receiving, so it's kind of surprising, I guess. Texas being such a powerhouse team that they are, they've always been historically known as part of that. Well, they're just the leader of the Big 12 out there. Noah Sewell, put a big star by this guy's name. This is a big time player. He runs, he blocks. He had an interception. This guy's 270 pounds, guys. He's headed to Oregon. He was the young man with a big bushy hair, kind of looked like an old Palomalu. I swear he listed him as a linebacker, running back. I promise. This guy's feet is great. He's a big kid, very instinctual with the ball. He's headed out to play with the Oregon Ducks. Keep your eye out for Noah Sewell. This guy's going to be a big-time playmaker out there for them. Looks like Bama picked up the Will Anderson kid. He had 3 tackles, 2 for a loss, and a sack, and the forced fumble. I think we had talked about him. And, of course, Desmond Tisdale headed to Auburn, and Quan Robinson, a linebacker. So there's some players, come out of that game. And it looks like Brian Reese headed to Clemson. So they picked up a few players that day. It was a fun game, and I'm just by watching the game, those are some things that happened in the game. Just by watching it, guys, I'm telling you, it just looks to me like these players are so developed now these days. The quarterbacks, Bryce and DJ, looked snappy. They looked sharp. They looked like they knew what they were doing and like they had been doing it for a long time. Very impressed with the quarterbacks, and of course the coaches of both teams done a very good job with them. So they have big arm motion. DJ Ugale looks like he had 252 yards. He was 16 for 25 with 2 touchdowns and a pick. And of course Young won the bowl MVP. He was 6 for 9 with 164, 2 touchdowns. He was on the West team. He's already on campus as of tomorrow will be a week. His release of the ball is very fast off his hands. Kind of, I guess you could compare him to Tua. I guess the way he releases the ball so quickly. These guys just look like the quarterbacks that have already played college, honestly. They look really good to be right out of high school. So to sum that up, I would say if you're tired of seeing Clemson in the playoffs, guys, you might ought to find another sport to watch, because it appears that the teams that are playing now, Clemson's, the LSU's, Ohio State's, they're going to be around for a while. I look for Bama to get back in it strong. They got a lot of guys coming back. We can kind of roll into that and say that Najee Harris did commit to say he's coming back. So we got several guys going to come back and play. They're going to add a lot of players. Unfortunate now on the other side of that, in the SEC, the East, looks like Florida's going to do well next year, and Georgia is losing a lot of players. Looks like some of the guys that set up the bowl game that were hurt or whatnot, looks like some of those guys are going to be transferring, and of course they're having something to graduate. Fromm is leaving. So I'm very interested to see what Coach Smart is going to do in the off season to try to carry his team through this tough time, because I don't know if it's the style of play. I mean, they kind of line up and run the ball a lot, and if that style is not popular in high school, I don't think that's an accurate assessment. I've heard that from some media outcries of fans from that team and from Florida teams and whatnot. So I'm not sure about that. I would hope that Coach Smart will get it figured out, see how Georgia does next year. But that's kind of just a sum up of some of the high school kids and where they're going and what they got going on. They played in the East-West game. It was a very exciting game. Like I said again, I just cannot get over how well these kids played. They really look sharp. They really look crisp out there. All right, we're going to take a short little break here and get some stuff together and come right back. We're going to do a little NFL playoff breakdown and see how your Tennessee Titans fared last night. We'll be right back. Thank you for listening to WDKR.
You're listening to WDKR, internet-based community radio, serving Cherokee County, Alabama. WDKR.org.
Welcome back, Cherokee County. What's going on? Welcome back to WDKR. It's Big Matt. Diamond Dean, of course, is not here with us today. We're going to move right in here to the NFL playoff picture. Looks like the Titans have really just surprised everybody, including myself. Titans win a big game last night, 28-12, over the Ravens. And I have to be honest, I had my pick wrote down. I'm just going to be honest with you. We're just talking ball here. I had the Ravens like 30-28 beating the Titans, but honestly, the Titans their D just stood up, and they covered the field so very well. They gave Lamar a little bit of space, but they didn't give him too much space. They just played defense and ran the ball. Derrick Henry, looks like Henry had 30 carries for 195 yards. That's 6.5 yards an average on carries there. He had a great game. On the flip side of that, Ingram only had 6 carries for 22 yards. What's really surprising, I knew Lamar had a lot of passes as I was watching the game. He was 31 for 59. That was pretty surprising. He had 365 yards passing and 143 rushing. Lamar's definitely always going to get his. And from watching the game right off from the start, it just seemed like they were not going to run at Lamar and give him a little bit of space to throw the ball. And they just played cover. And they just covered the receivers. And nobody had even a chance to breathe out there, guys. Lamar just really had nowhere to throw the ball. A lot of times, as the camera's asphyxiated there in the middle of the field and we're watching the quarterback, we can't see down the field. And by the way he's holding the ball and running around there, it just looks like he just had nowhere to go with the ball. I mean, he's 31 for 59, but he had 365 yards, where Tannehill was 7 for 14 with 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, Lamar did throw. I think he had 2 picks last night. But some of those were not on him. It looked like the receivers were coming out of their breaks early, or he was trying to throw the ball a little quicker than he had to because he was getting pressured, and it could have been one or the other, or it could have been both. But Tannehill was just 7-14. So the Titans win. I didn't have a whole bunch of notes on that game to follow with. Just that, Derrick Henry had won the rushing title last year, and I was going to lead into like how we feel about him in the game. Well, they're one of the top rushing teams. They have over 407 yards per game. Looks like offense rushing and stuff. So it was just a very big surprise, just to be real honest with you. The Titans knock off Tom Brady 20-13 the week before. That was not quite as surprising, maybe, if I'm just being honest about it. Brady may have reached the end of his career, maybe, may come back for another year. I don't know. That's gonna do a little side notes thing after. We'll get some of your ideas and see what you think about it. Also, it looks like of course we watched the 49ers and the Vikings played first, and they won 27-10. Garoppolo was 11 for 19 with 131 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. It's like Coleman and Morissette have ran the ball some, like 22 carries for Coleman, had 105 yards. Just honestly, the 49ers defense is, I've only watched them I watched them play one other game, and they're pretty tight, man. They have a good defense, and of course Nick Bosa, he's going to get his. He had a good game last night. Looks like their defense may be the only defense out there that could stop Derrick Henry, maybe. I don't know, and I don't know if we'll get to see that matchup. I'm going to hope that we do. I'll be pulling for the Titans. But the 49ers just were stingy. The Vikings just couldn't get anything going. They just couldn't run the ball. The 49ers were solid from the start of the game to the finish. They were just to say, we're just not going to let you run the ball. Cook only had like 9 carries for 18 yards. And I think he's better than that. So that just speaks loudly. So just big hats off to the 49ers. Their defense, man, they were just eating all day long. They were just not going to let Minnesota score. I mean, they had just pretty much shut it down. It looks like Cousins was 21 for 29 with 172 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. Now, if I would have told you before the game, the Vikings fans, Cousins is going to be 21 for 29, 172 yards, a touchdown and a pick, you probably would assume that your team would win. But then if I would have told you Cook had 9 carries for 18 yards, you probably wouldn't have. So, hey, the 49ers stood up on defense and made it a game. They're both top 6 in the rushing. They're both top 8 in scoring defense. They were tied for 5th in total D, I think, with like 48 sacks. Bosa and Armstead are going to. They definitely did a job last night on Cousins. And Dalvin Cook's had 1,107 yards on your 13 touchdowns, 53 receptions. It's like second on the team. And Eric Kendrick really anchors the defense for the Vikings for their whole unit. They only like giving up like 108 yards per game. I kind of felt the Niners would win the game, but I thought the Vikings would score more. I thought they'd put a little more of put a little more of a fight there with Eric Kendrick and them on defense. So I had the Niners 27-21, and it was 27-10. So I missed that one by a little bit, but it was a good game, and we're glad for the 49ers out there to see them move on. They're a very historic team. I was a huge fan of theirs as a kid. Watched Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott, probably one of my favorite players of all time. Enjoyed watching them all the years that I did. So, looks like now we're going to talk about the Seahawks and the Packers. Looks like the Packers are favored by 4. They're going to be playing, here in just pretty soon here, Rodgers versus Wilson. Actually, it says, I read some of this earlier, that they're 2 of the worst teams in the postseason. That was reported by NBC Sports. I've kind of got the Packers looking like a 26-24. I'm gonna go with Rodgers in this one. I think Seattle's good, but the Packers won 5 in a row coming into this. They lead the series with them 13-9. And Aaron Rodgers' QBR rating right now looks like it's passer rating's a 101. 353 for 569, 4,000 yards passing, 26 touchdowns with 4 picks. He's the guy. And whenever things are tight and it's going to be a close game, I'm going to go with Aaron to lead a late drive in the game. It wouldn't be surprising to me if the Seahawks were up at halftime at all, maybe like a 14-7 or something. They'd be close, and I think they'll come on with it. And Packers and Aaron Rodgers definitely have a game-winning drive there at the end. Maybe get them down there and set them up to win a kick and win it by a field goal or something. So, but saying that, talking about being close and having quarterbacks play in close games, 12 of their games, the Seahawks, have been decided by 8 or less points. Russell Wilson, his passer rating is at 107, and he's 341 for 516, 4,100 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 5 picks. They won the last meeting 27-24 back in November. So, is Marshawn going to be useful tonight? Was they just lucky because that hit or whatever they had on, when he hurt Wentz, is that something that Seattle kind of lucked out with that? And that's something we could talk about. Jadeveon Clowney just, as Wentz is sliding in to kind of give himself up, Clowney throws his shoulder down there and then hits him in the back of the head. Did he say he meant to? Of course he didn't. Said he did not mean to do that. However, if you kind of compare it with baseball, maybe it's a bad analogy. Maybe you can tell me what you think. We're just talking here. Say like MLB pitchers. A pitcher, if he throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and it hits you, I'm pretty sure that he meant to do it. Reason being because they're professionals. Now, if one slips out around 70, okay, throw the curve, it slipped out, he hit a batter, it happens. But what I'm saying is that these guys are professionals, and I think Jadeveon Clowney's an excellent tackler. He got blowed up on ESPN on the top play of the century when he hit old Shoelace Robinson from Michigan up there and knocked his helmet off that day. So I think he's a good player. I just can't see that he accidentally fell and accidentally put his head in the back of Wentz's helmet. I don't see that he did that accidentally. I think that he meant to do it. He's trying to make a point. He's just playing tough. It's a tough game. And I don't have a big problem with what he did personally at all. He can own up to it and say, I threw my head down there and it's a tough game and I'm just playing competitively. And of course, he could say he didn't mean to hurt him. I don't think, well, not all the players. There are some that do try to harm other players, but Seattle got lucky there and they move on, so they're going to get to play the Packers. So I got the Packers 26-24, like I said, and it looks like it's going to be a good game. So right now, the next we're going to have the Texans and Kansas City. Okay, going into that, I'm not sure about Mahomes and his ankle. I don't know if he's 100%. So that's going to play a role in it. Texas is bottom 10 in defense. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop him, even if he's kind of gimpy. However, the Chiefs don't have a really great run game. Looks like Mahomes is probably going to have to tote the team. So with him being gimpy, but they have a lot more of their players back. So I'm definitely going to go with the Chiefs. I'm going to say like a 28-21. If he was more healthy, I would definitely go probably a bigger score, like a 36-21 or something. But I'm going to say Kansas City, and is going to get that win. And looking for the Packers to win the next game. So looks like we're going to move on now to the biggest game of the year. What all us football fans love and hate. The love part of it is definitely that we enjoy the game, and the bad part of it is we know it's the last college football game that we're going to get to see for many, many more months. So that's kind of bad in itself. So Let's take a little break for just a second, and we'll come back, and we'll talk about Lou Holtz had a comment about a team, and see what he said, and we're going to break down some things here with Clemson and LSU. Just talk about defenses and their coaches and little special teams and that kind of stuff and who they've played. And I've got some notes from Todd here, kind of who he's looked at. So let's take a break for just a second here, and we'll be right back. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you listening to WDKR. We'll be right back.
You're listening to WDKR, Internet-based community radio, serving Cherokee County, Alabama. WDKR.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to WDKR from the break. We thank you guys again for tuning in and listening to the Big Matt and Diamond Dean, the Matt and Todd Show. We're glad you all took a little time out of your lovely Sunday evening that we've had today. Great sunshine after some messy weather yesterday. Hope everybody's doing okay, and the ones that didn't do well. We're praying for your families and everybody to get everything back together. Again, we thank you guys for listening in. Right before the break, I had a little comment about Lou Holtz and something that he had said. Maybe a little controversial. A lot of people has had negative things to say about it, and that's okay. That's what comments bring sometimes. Lou Holtz's voice is well known in the college football world. He was a big-time coach at Notre Dame, even at South Carolina. He worked some things there. So what he just said something in the line of, don't quote me on this exactly, that he just said that he felt like Bama was the best team that wasn't in the playoff. He feels like they could have won it if they would have been healthy, which is, not a bad comment, but he did say that luck does play a part of it. And I remember years ago when he had a show that he would do after, like the College Football Live, and him and the guy would have the court session, and some of you may have watched that, and it was really good. They had asked him, a time about him winning at Notre Dame, was he lucky sometimes? And he said, sure, absolutely. You would just be foolish to not think that luck doesn't play a role in championship games, because the talent is so close. Somebody has to get a break somewhere along the way. Like Colt McCoy going out in the Texas game, something like that. And maybe Bama trying to get in that game that year. They blocked those field goals against Tennessee. It's just stuff like that. There's little weird things that happen to get you to those moments. So Lou had just said that he thought Bama was the best team that just didn't get in the playoffs. So that's just a little something to share with you there. Talking about the playoffs, this is the final of the playoffs. Clemson and LSU going to match up tomorrow night. I'm thinking it's going to be a close game. Some people have it not so close. Right now, LSU is favored by 4.5. The over/under looks like 69. I don't think it's going to go. I think a lot of people that I've watched are saying it's going to go over 69. It's going to be a higher scoring game. I don't think it's going to go over 69 as a total score. I just think Clemson has got to play the run too. They're defensively, they cannot just sit back there and wait for Joe to throw the ball and not expect Clyde Edwards to not run the ball. He's a great running back. They're really going to have to keep an eye on him. And they just cannot miss any. You're just not going to be missing assignments up front. Like I said earlier, there's some luck that always plays into that. But when you got two teams that are very equally talent matched, the ones that, of course, miss, the big plays are the ones that can get hurt in the game. Are they going to be? Is Clemson going to run the ball heavy? Are they going to run the ball heavy at first? I think maybe it may be a good idea for them to. Clemson's ETN, he has 9 yards per carry, and that's going to be a big part of the game. I think he's a good running back. Some people think he's better than Clyde Edwards. Man, that's just close. They're both really good at what they do. They kind of play the same. Maybe a little difference would be, I would say, that ETN is a little bit more of a jumper and runner, or it seems like Clyde Edwards, Larry, he just wants to run over you. He's got a tough spirit about him. And really, honestly, it's always about one thing, because I keep saying this over and over, and I'm sorry, how these kids are so close in talent. It's about how are these coaches going to adjust. Okay, the LSU defensive coach, how is he going to, Aranda, how is he going to be able to adjust to face Trevor Lawrence? Because now, looking back, they can see that he can run the ball some. He had some big runs right there before the half, against Ohio State. I think that was the play that kind of broke the game. Whereas Clemson's D coach, Coach Venables, their number one defense, how's he going to adjust to look at Joe, and how are they going to move the pocket around Joe? Are the players going to be more aggressive and run right at him? Are they going to blitz up the middle more? How are they going to play that out, and how are they going to adjust? I'm assuming that the way they match up, I think the lines are pretty close defensively, offensively, either way. They're probably going to have to blitz to put some kind of pressure on Joe, so he just can't stand back there like, say, in the Georgia game, where he was just standing back there forever and ever, and it's like he was taking a nap and waking up and throwing the ball whenever he felt like he was ready. I mean, he had all day sometimes, and somebody's going to be open if you are allowed to stand back there for 7 or 8, 9 seconds. So I'm going to say that Clemson's going to have to blitz some, therefore that's going to leave some man coverage. I feel like Clemson's corners can keep up with LSU's receivers. That's my nod. That's my pick. LSU is the number one defense, but Clemson, I think, needs to score first. We've got to find some pressure from those linebackers, and the player matchups, Joe Burrow is going to be versus Coach Venables. It's going to be the defensive coach at Clemson versus Joe Burrow to see how they can wrangle him and leave him in the pocket to throw the ball. So that's kind of how it's going to have to play out. If Clemson's going to win this game, LSU's definitely favored. Man, they're smoking right now. They are going to be playing kind of a home game, which Dabo feels like is not fair. I understand what he's saying. Should he say it? No, because it just looks like you're just kind of whining. And when you're 50 years old and you got rings on your finger winning titles already, you don't have to do that. It's something more like a player would say for me. So I didn't like the comment that he come out with that. You're a coach. You should just motivate your kids and keep them focused on the game and let things happen the way they are and how they're going to happen. And just keep them prepared and keep the boys fired up and make them feel like it don't matter if LSU's at home. No matter what they do, that your team is going to come out on top. So that's my pick. I'm looking at Clemson to win this thing 31-28 in a close game. I think Clemson wins towards the end of the game. It's going to be, it may be even a field goal to win this thing. And they both have special teams. Clemson is kind of a little lower on the mark for special teams, maybe punt and return stuff, but I think field goal kicking wise, York's at LSU, he's good too. So we're just really comparing just apples and apples. It's really close. Excited to see what ETN's going to do, if he can get a rushing game, if he can get something going, and if Trevor Lawrence can also add to that running game. But man, those linebackers at LSU are fast, and they can really cover ground. It's going to be a great game. I'm really excited about it, but like I said, I'm kind of sad too because we know it's the end of the college football season for right now for the next few months. So again, me, Big Matt, I got 31-28 Clemson over LSU. Todd has flew me some notes via a carrier pigeon from the islands where he's at right now. Looks like he's saying, Clemson, they have the best secondary in the nation, man. They have a good running back in ETN. Their linebackers are a little bit better. We got Simmons and those guys, All-Americans, and they did beat the best offense in Ohio State. That's a good point. However, LSU has the best passing attack that we've ever seen in maybe the last 10 years or so. And maybe this may be one of the best passing groups that we've ever seen in the SEC. LSU has Stingley and Delpit. Their D-backs back there. Those guys are really good. They're going to cover the Clemson receivers, give Trevor some. It's going to be hard for him to get rid of the ball quick. I think those guys cover very well. Their linebackers are fast, just like I'd said. They really move to the ball. They're very instinctual, and Clemson is a great team. I like them on their experience side of it, but LSU is just playing with a little chip on their shoulder. Either way, we're cutting hairs right here. It's going to be a great game. He's got LSU to win this one 35-24. So we differ on this one, which is good. That's why I love doing the show. We need to disagree on stuff. It gives us something to talk about. Again, 31-28 Clemson over LSU for me. Big Diamond Dean saying LSU is going to win this one 35-24. So we're kind of close in scores, but just flip-flopped on that. It's going to be a great turnout, and I'm sure for the LSU crowd, there's probably going to be a lot of purple in that stadium. But Clemson's going to travel well. And again, the reason for my pick is just because of sheer experience in playing in all these playoff games. I think these guys are ready. LSU has been in the spotlight the whole time. The quarterback won the Heisman. You got players on defense winning awards. It may be a little distractful, and I'm just not sure if they can handle it and keep it all together and focus on the game the whole night and win it. So anyway, guys, hey, that's our picks. Appreciate you guys listening in. Sorry, Big Diamond Dean is not here with me tonight. We're going to miss him. We will be back next Sunday to talk about some of these other playoff games, how they shook up. And we will definitely review and go over the LSU-Clemson game. We're going to tell you what happened. Good calls, bad calls. I hope there's no bad calls. Man, I hope they're just a good, clean, called game. Let the players play and go out there and have a good crowd environment. And I think it's going to be a good game. So thank you guys for listening to WDKR. This is Big Matt. And I'll be right back with some side notes. And y'all go online here. Go on our Facebook page, The Matt and Todd Show. Check us out. Leave me some comments. Tell me what you think. And we're going to get into some side notes, some stuff about old Tom Brady. What's he going to have going on? What about Derrick Henry? Man, that guy, he just tore it up last night. What do we feel about old McCartney at Dallas Cowboys? And, what we got going on out there. So we're going to kick around a few little things. So I'm going to kick back in the easy chair now. The main show is over, and we're going to dig off to the side notes, so y'all stay tuned and come right on back. You hear? Thank you for tuning in, WDKR. Hang on, we'll be right back.
You're listening to WDKR, internet-based community radio, serving Cherokee County, Alabama. WDKR.org.
Welcome back, everybody. We got our shoes kicked off and our hair let down. We're going to do a little side note show here. It's Big Matt from the Matt and Todd Show. Thank you for tuning in again at WDKR. All right, guys. What about old Tom Brady? Is he done? Is he going to play football next year? Is he going to be a Patriot next year? Personally, I think it's just going to depend a lot on what the Kraft family wants, because he said it's quote-unquote pretty unlikely for him to retire. That's what he said, he quoted. So for him to retire, he's going to have some help. If they're not going to build him a little bit of a team around him, get him some receivers, and he's wanting the max money, they may not keep him. There's rumors going around, I've seen on some other shows, where the rumor of a sniff of Andy Dalton to come, because Cincinnati's going to get the first pick. They may free that up because I'm sure they're planning on getting Joe Burrow. So New England going to take Andy Dalton, let Tom Brady go somewhere and play another year. Will he go with Josh McDaniel? Will Josh McDaniel go the Browns? Then would you see Peyton in a Browns uniform with Josh McDaniels head coach? Wow, that would be really weird. I mean, to see a guy his whole career be at one team, it's just that weird feeling like he feels like a traitor, if you're a Tom Brady fan. Because, I grew up watching, like I said earlier about the 49ers, loved watching Joe Montana play. And he went to Kansas City and played. And it just always seemed strange seeing him in a Kansas City uniform. But anyway, personally, I don't see him coming back in a Patriots uniform. That's my opinion. We'd love for you guys to go on our Facebook page to the Matt and Todd Show. Leave some comments. I know, we've got listeners. You got Facebook accounts. Hey, go on there and leave a comment. Say, no, I think he's going to come back and play for the Patriots. They're going to pay him, and they're going to build a team. Cool, man. That's what this is for, just to stir some comments up and see what you guys think about what's going on. Talking about what's going on, but I promise on all that's good, I had this side note wrote probably Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. Probably Tuesday. Is Derrick Henry, could he go on to be a Hall of Famer? He had like 204 versus the Patriots, and then he had 195 against the Ravens. He's a mouse that runs like a deer. He's like a big Eric Dickerson. 99 yards on the Jaguars. Deion Lewis had got traded, and Derrick had took over then. It seems like when he's playing and running the ball, it's like Nebraska versus Oklahoma, like Big 8 football, like back in the day. For all you older people that know what I'm talking about, he's just so big, and he's took over in the league. He's had big standout games, and there's a lot of talk going on right now. And I had this question, honestly, Tuesday last week: is he a Hall of Famer? Question mark. Can he be? And then he did this. So, he's going to be on track to get into the top 5. I don't know about all those thousands of yards like Emmitt Smith and Frank Gore and all those guys have, Walter Payton. But hey, if he can stay healthy, he's a big guy, he runs hard. Tell me what you think. Look me up on Facebook there and go to the Matt and Todd Show. Tell me what you think about Derrick Henry. Is he a possible Hall of Famer? If he keeps on track to what he's doing, he very well could be. Very, very possible. All right, here's something else to think about. We always talk about Dallas. The Cowboys always have something going on, and they're America's team. They're a high-profile, prolific team. Everybody knows who they are. They're told to be America's team. It's McCartney to Dallas. Do you like it? Is it good? Is it bad? What do we know about this guy? Well, we know him from Green Bay. He's been a part of Aaron Rodgers. His style may be out of style. Is it? I don't know. Just trying to stir up some questions here. When he left Green Bay, they went 11-2. So, and he's not a big guy on running the game. He likes to throw the ball. You're going to have Mike Nolan calling the O, maybe, I think. They're 17th in yards gained, 14 points as the head coach. See, he's fired at Green Bay, and they just couldn't adapt. I heard a guy say this on a little chat room. They was talking about him. He's from the Pittsburgh area, and they said he's like the Pittsburgh Macho Man. I don't know what they mean by that. I guess I'm assuming that they are kind of poking at him about his persona, that he shows to be a tough guy, but he's really not. He did win a Super Bowl 10 years ago. He had a big wild card run there. So, is he just another Jason Garrett in disguise? I don't know. They throw the ball well, but, it was Aaron Rodgers. So that's kind of what I'm, alluding to. I don't know. He could come in there and be great with Dak because, I think Dak is definitely the future of the team. I don't think they're going to cut him loose. Ezekiel was playing. I think he may be a little nicked up that not everybody knows about maybe. So they're going to bring in some new coaches, and we'll see what Dallas does. I don't know if he's not going to play real good on D, and he's just not big on running the ball. Personally, I think those are the two things that win games. I think we've seen it through the season. I think we've seen it even in the playoff games last night. The teams that run the ball and play defense, because what it's about is controlling the clock and the time of possession. So if he's not in with that, Dallas may struggle. And I don't know. What about the coach out of Baylor, Matt? They have put him in at Carolina for 7 years for, was it $70 million, like $10 million a year or something? Some big lucrative contract. What do you guys think about that? Hey, we're just kicking stuff around here. Go on Facebook, the Matt and Todd Show. What do you think about Coach Matt out there from Baylor going to Carolina? He's just not proven himself really definitely not in the pros. He has in college. He was at Temple, turned some things around, did some big things, and then he, of course, was at Baylor, did a great job out there. They went through some tough times with losing some coaches and things, and he did do a good job. So, what do you think about him being at Carolina? I know there's some Panther fans out there. Where's Cam Newton going to fall and all this stuff, and how's all that going to play out? And with him being a new coach, and I'm sure he would fit into the kind of offense that they're going to have. But he's definitely going to have to coach defense, and they're going to have some kind of defense at Carolina to be successful out there in that division. Especially with the teams that you're going to have out there, because Baltimore may be out, but they're not going to be out of it forever. We're definitely going to see them again. They'll be back in it, and they're going to be back kicking around. A lot of teams out here on the East Coast. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in to WDKR. This is Big Matt, kicking around some side notes. So just tell us what you think about, Derrick Henry. Can he be a Hall of Famer? Is Tom Brady going to be a Patriot next year? What do you think about McCartney at the Cowboys? What about big Coach Matt out there at Carolina? How's he going to work through some of this? Tell me what you think, and we'll be back next week. Everybody have a great week and be blessed. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Be safe and be blessed. Thank you guys again for tuning in. It's WDKR. It's Big Matt signing out. Thank you.